Hey guys, welcome to my channel. It's your boy Zach, and this is Zach Attacks Reviews. I just want to thank everybody that's already subscribed. We just hit 100 subscribers, and we're on the road to 200 subscribers. If you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share it with your friends so this community can grow. And today I'm breaking down the good, the bad, and the ugly of Loki Episode 5. Loki Episode 5, which is called The Journey into Mystery, which I like to call Into the Loki-verse, starts off with our original Loki from our universe that we know, meeting Kid Loki, one they call Boastful Loki, and the classic Loki, the one that, the version of Loki, how he was drawn in the comics and how he was portrayed. I really, really enjoyed seeing different comic iterations of the character coming into the movie version, because the movie version is very different from the comic version. And seeing him interact with all these different Lokis is where I will start off with the good of the episode. What was great about this episode was him interacting with all these different Lokis, basically seeing how he was in different points of his life as a kid, his cockiness and what he could become, and then the older version, the isolated one, the one that doesn't have any friends, doesn't have any glorious purpose. It really helps the character kind of figure out what he wants to do and what he wants moving forward, because he sees where his life can go, and it's not too favorable. As cool as each of these Lokis are, and that's another great thing about this episode, they made each Loki different and similar at the same time. It's just like how Sylvie, is very different from Tom Hiddleston's Loki. She still has a lot of similarities to him, and each of these characters have a lot of similarities other than wearing green. And even Alligator Loki is mischievous. He's the most mischievous out of all the Lokis we've seen so far. It was just really fun seeing them interact, bring up about their backgrounds and what was going on. And speaking about the background, another thing that I really like about this episode is all the Easter eggs. So many Easter eggs, MCU Easter eggs, and even comic book Easter eggs. So if you paid attention to all the movies, if you read comics and see the source material, there was something in here for everyone. Even if you watch the animated series when they were popular back in the day, there was a little something. If you blink, you might miss it, but if you paid attention, you see a lot of things like Frog Thor or Thanos' helicopter from when Thanos was a little bit more goofy and not as serious as he is now in the comics and in the movies. Even an Ant-Man villain, you saw his helmet in the background, which, reinforces some people's theories that this might be in the quantum realm. That was just really, really fun. Just, seeing all the Easter eggs that they had that was non-Loki related, build the world even more and connect everything, which, Marvel is really great at, and why this franchise is so awesome. Another thing I really enjoyed about this episode was the spectacle and the way it was shot. The Loki's using their powers, the monster that was keeping them there in the void, the camera angles were very more widened, more movie-like, kind of like in episode 3 to the max. Like it was just really interesting. Even way the intro, even though it started off a little slow, the way they twist and turn, went through the desolate city, and the way they angled certain things was really great. I really enjoyed the spectacle and how big this episode felt. It felt like I was watching the later half of a movie, like right when we're about to hit the climax, which is basically what it is, because it's the second last episode of the series before we get to the big finale. So I really, really enjoyed the way it was shot and directed, and the powers that was put on display, especially from classic Loki. One of my complaints, I feel, for this series overall, and since Ragnarok, honestly, is that Loki's been being depowered, because I feel like Marvel feels if he is too powerful or a character is too powerful, they won't be relatable, which is not 100% true. There's ways to do it without making them look like a fool or depowering them. But I was nice to see classic Loki and the other Lokis just show their true strength and their power. It was badass. Let's talk about the bad. Episode is so conflicting for me, because I really liked the episode, but there was also parts of it that I really disliked. So it was more in the medium for me, more close to what, like episode 3, where I felt like, where I felt like the episode 3 was filler. I just felt like this one went off the rails on terms of where the story and what I thought was going on, or how the quality of the writing was. I think even though I think the first couple shots were interesting, the way they were directed, it was started very slow, and these episodes, it's a 6 episode series, one, and then each episode is like 45 minutes to 40 to 45 minutes, and a lot of that is like credits at the end, which is like 7 minutes. So you're only really getting 35 minutes of story. And for them to start the story off so slow, to have Loki seem like he hasn't been dealing with the TVA and understanding there's a multiverse and multiple versions of him when he sees the other Lokis and not understanding what's going on. Like in the beginning, it made sense because he thought he was going to die. But now that you understand that you're not dead, it just took too long for him to get on board for me, and it felt like the show had nowhere to go for a little while because they just had to fill out the time slot, because a lot of this could have been chopped up and it been much shorter. So that slow start really hurt it for me, and the flow of the episode as well. Especially when we got to the end, it kind of was like, whoa, okay, the big boss battle's happening now. Another thing that was a little annoying for me was the conveniency of things. Certain characters being in places suddenly. Some characters finding out hideouts all of a sudden, even though they've been there for decades and never found a hideout. It's just, for the drama. It didn't feel as crisp and tight as writing as this show has done so far. So that was a little bit of a negative for me. It's not that big of a deal because tons of shows do it. Have convenient plot things where somebody happens to be walking around and see another character and they run into each other. But it was just really apparent, we're talking to other people about the episode where it was like, whoa, what? Like, that doesn't even make sense. This big giant place and they two run into each other. And I feel like with all that being said, the biggest negative is that I feel like they traded out story, emotional beats, and the kind of overarching story that I thought was happening for big action sequences in this episode. And I kind of understand where they're coming from because they don't have a lot of big action sequences in this series so far. But they don't have to. I think a lot of people care more about the character moments and the progression of the character and the story and what's going on more than them fighting, because the fighting in this show hasn't been that great so far. It's been kind of basic. And even in this, it wasn't that amazing. Even an emotional moment that they had where, the group was separating, they did it in a weird way where it was like they had to shout because it was a bigger noise going on in the background. It took away a little bit of the emotional weight of it from the moment. That was something that I feel like hopefully in episode 6, the last episode, they don't implement. Let's talk about the ugly. The dialogue, mainly towards the end of the episode, was just really bad. There was certain aspects of the dialogue where I was like, hold up. I don't feel like that Loki would ever say something like this. I get that he's supposed to be progressing as a character, but it's just that was too far of a leap. He went from speaking poetically, Nordic, glorious, a different, and going to kind of like the power of friendship, things that you would see in a cartoon or even in like a typical CW superhero show, like in this day and age, where you cringe at the dialogue. It made me cringe a lot, and they took off the edge of Loki, and they're taking off the edge off of Sylvie a little bit too. And you don't have to take the edge off a character to make them likable or make people understand them. That's just how I feel about the dialogue. It was just really cheesy and not to the point where it was like good cheese. It was like stale cheese. My verdict for this episode is that it was watchable. I think that it was a must watch. When I watched it, I was like, I didn't have to rush to watch this. Obviously, I wanted to do the review, but I could have took my time and watched this at any time. Nothing major or crazy happened in this episode. Obviously, the Easter eggs were pretty cool, but it was nothing that was life changing in terms of what is going to happen to MCU, unless they use it going forward. We have to see. But for the viewers who are watching this review right now, how do you feel about the episode? How do you feel about the Easter eggs? Who do you think they're about to run into now in episode 6? Who's doing all this at the end of the universe? Is it Kang the Conqueror? Or is it, some people think it might be another Loki, which was kind of my theory, that Loki would want to get rid of all the other Lokis. That's why there's so many being pruned, because he wants to be the only one. Or is it a different character that we didn't even think of yet? Please drop your comments and your thoughts down below and let me know what you think and what do you think about the episode overall. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for my next video. Today is Marvel Weekend. I'm going to be reacting to the new What If trailer, and I'm going to be reviewing Black Widow, so stay tuned for those videos coming soon. And have a wonderful day, and as always, peace.